All right, let's get it started with Drew Brees and Tom Brady. They have a big NFC South matchup on Sunday night. The Saints spoiled Brady's Bucs debut back in Week 1, and New Orleans has won 4 straight. On the other side, the Bucs are on a 3-game winning streak and will have a new offensive weapon in Antonio Brown. So, Acho, who's under more pressure Sunday, Brees or the GOAT?
My dog is obviously Tom Brady. And
the GOAT?
It's the GOAT. It's the GOAT, Tom Brady, because of just what you said. Because he is the GOAT. You don't look at Tom Brady and Drew Brees in the same light. Not you, the figurative you, the proverbial you.
Okay.
We don't look at Tom Brady and Drew Brees in the same light. Yeah. They're not in the same conversation. Yeah. Tom Brady is, like you said, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Drew Brees is an all-time great. And there's a very big difference between being the greatest of all time and being an all-time great. Because we look at Tom Brady as the greatest of all time, he has a higher expectation. He has a higher ceiling. He has more to lose. Drew Brees is a great football player again and one of the greatest in the decade. But Tom Brady is the greatest of the decade. Yeah. Tom Brady is the greatest to have ever done it. So when you're talking about who has more pressure, I've told you this before. Pressure to me, Marcellus, is who has more to lose. Expectations minus reality is where you're getting at. That's that disappointment.
Yeah, I like that.
Tom Brady, he has the more expectations. His team should be better. He is better, and he has more right now at stake. Everybody is saying Tom Brady and the Bucs are the best in the NFC. Tom Brady and the Bucs might be the best in the NFL. So if Tom Brady and the Bucs can't beat the Saints, again, mind you, that's a bigger issue. Tom Brady under a lot more pressure than Drew Brees.
No, it's Drew Brees in this situation. One, just because imagine your reality that you are so good. I mean, great. As you said, an all-time great.
All-time.
And you are basically better than anyone else in your era in terms of playing the position. There's an argument for a guy or two, but there's one guy that there's no argument for.
Who that?
And that guy is Tom Brady. There's no argument when you say Drew Brees versus Tom Brady. You're like, damn it. But if you say Drew Brees versus anyone else in this era, including Aaron Rodgers, you got you a strong argument. So imagine if you're Drew Brees in that situation. You're like, I can't beat this guy in anything. I'm trying to go head-to-head with him in terms of passing yards every single week. That changes. And if Drew Brees retires at the end of the year, we know Tom Brady's going to continue to play and pass him up there. What about in passing touchdowns? We go back and forth. Oh, in completions, we go back and forth. I'm trying to get my all-time status solidified. And then Tom Brady has me beaten every single category, including he's the GOAT. Including he has, 9 conference championships, 6 Super Bowl rings. I can't compare to any of that. But I got my division. This is my block, homie. You can run the world, but this is my block. Drew Brees' block. And now Tom Brady, in his first year, is on his block and trying to take the block from Drew Brees. Drew Brees is like, hold on, you got all these records, you got all these accolades, and you want my spot? Ooh, Drew Brees is feeling that pressure because if Tom Brady goes out there and wins this game, then we got to get deeper into tiebreakers because they won one each. But then if you look at overall record, Tom Brady's going to have the nod there. So Tom Brady, who has everything at his disposal, the entire world in his hand, is now going to look at Drew Brees, and the only one thing he has, hey, I won my division 6 times in the last 3 years. Tom Brady's like, yeah, that sounds nice because I'm here now. I'm taking your division and your block from you.
I like that take, bro. But that take and that logic is exactly why, to me, Tom Brady's under more pressure because Tom Brady, everybody thinks he runs this block. Everybody knows he wants to run the block. But right now, Tom Brady don't run the block. Drew Brees still does. Tom Brady's under the pressure because everybody's looking at you like, hey, Tom, you're supposed to come over and take over. You're supposed to come over and not only run the NFC, at least run the division. If you can't run the division, surely you can't run the NFC. So when I look at it, I'm like, wait a second, Tom, you got all this firepower, but you still can't get past the Saints. Let me talk about this full screen, which I have.
Did you
because
just do that?
Let me talk about the full screen, which I got to show you. Look at the Week 1 difference. Week 1, they only scored 23 points. The Buccaneers lose to the Saints 34-23. But since then, Marcellus, the Buccaneers have outscored their opponents greater than anybody in the NFL.
Yes.
So Week 1, you lose to the Saints. Then you don't lose again until you lose to the Bears on Thursday Night Football, a short weekend. You lose by 1 point. Outside of that, you have outscored everybody. If you come back, Marcellus, and you play the Saints again, the same team which you lost to Week 1, you now play them again and you lose again. That means that you're drastically better than everybody else, except for the Saints. It's a lot of pressure. The last thing I'm going to say is this. Tom Brady's never been swept in his division. Ever been swept in his division by a team. If they lose to the Saints, that's a historical mark, a historical dent on Tom Brady. That's pressure, big dog.
That is pressure, and I'm not going to fight so much at that. But if you still lose to the Saints this week, you can still win this division, which is interesting because the Saints could find themselves losing out in the division because of the win column.
For sure.
Right? But right now, Tom Brady has one advantage in the win column. Like, they play one more game, but that's still one more win in the win column. So we don't know how it's going to play out. But I want to stay focused in on Drew Brees versus Tom Brady. And the fact that Tom Brady is looking at Drew Brees is like, there's only one thing you have, and it's really not that important, except I moved to your block, and now I got to take that from you as well. Tom Brady let Drew Brees live all these years on that block unscathed. I ain't going down there, let you go. Oh, you only got one championship? That's cute. I got 6 of those things, right? Like, think about it. You have the GOAT versus just a great guy. Like, the GOAT. What do you call Drew Brees? We call Tom Brady the GOAT. What do you call Drew Brees? Drew Brees this year has been under...
That's a good point.
Drew Brees has been under more pressure and scrutiny than even Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's in transition to a new team. And the only time you can catch me slipping, Drew Brees, is in week 1. We playing each other this weekend, and it's not going to be the same because I have now a different
learning curve. Let me ask you, don't you think, because to me, this is where I fall on the map, is because Tom Brady is the GOAT. Tom Brady 6 Super Bowls to Drew Brees' 1. Tom Brady 9 Super Bowl appearances to Drew Brees' 1, again, if I'm not mistaken. To me, that says Tom Brady has all the pressure because Drew Brees, like you said, he's really good. But when we kick back and think about it, Drew Brees doesn't belong in the same conversation as Tom Brady.
I know.
So Tom Brady doesn't really, like, Drew Brees is sitting here like, I ain't really got nothing to lose because nobody's ever going to view me as Tom Brady.
No, you have everything to gain. It's not about you have nothing to lose. It's I have everything. I got to close this gap in the ways I can. I talked about it. Passing yards, they're going 1 and 2 all time. Passing touchdowns, 1 and 2 all time. Completions, 1 and 2 all time. Drew Brees is trying to win the barbershop argument in the back because he knows in the front he can't even sit up there with Tom Brady. He's just trying to get something on Tom Brady. And the one thing he had was this division. What can he get? What can he get? He could get this division. And then Tom Brady's like, look, dog, winning the NFC South used to be little to me. But since it's big to you, it's now big to me. And I'm going to have to take that from you as well. Look at this. 6 rings, 1 ring. 3 MVPs. How many you got, Drew? Oh, damn, dog. It's like that. So when you look at me, I have a dynasty behind me already packed up in the luggage where I really live. This is my side crib. And then this is where you live, and that's all you have. And people like you have said this before, and I want you to own up to it. People look at Sean Payton and Drew Brees, and some say they've underachieved.
Agree, I think they have.
Do you think they have?
Agreed.
So if you're Drew Brees in an underachieving moment, how can you gain greater ground anywhere else other than beating the GOAT in any form or any fashion, including this week?
I think, well, I look at it a little bit differently. I don't think anything you said is incorrect, but how I look at it is simple is that nobody's really expecting the Saints to win, although they should, because your reputation precedes you.
Yeah, of course.
Sometimes. And right now, the reputation for the Buccaneers is they're sprinting into this game. The Bucs have they've won their last 3 games by 55 points. The Saints have won their last 4 games by only 15 points.
Nothing.
So the Saints caught a cramp. They limping into this game. But the Bucs are sprinting into this game, just knees and elbows. Let's look at it. Everybody's expecting the Bucs with Antonio Brown, another Hall of Fame receiver, to really should blow the Saints away. You really should go in there and you should handle your business. Everybody's looking at the Saints like, hey, just compete. So the Bucs have gotten a lot better since the last time they played y'all. I know y'all handle business, but the Bucs is a different team. Just go out there and compete. If you're the underdog, Marcellus, if you're the dark horse, that's a lot less pressure. If you're going into a race, big dog, if you're going into a race against Usain Bolt, the fastest man to have ever lived, you don't really have any pressure to win because nobody's expecting you to.
Yeah, but that's a different conversation, and it's not analogous because if you look at the Saints, they are expected to win this division again because they won it 3 times before in a row.
Are they, though?
Yeah, let me tell you why. You won it the last 3 years, correct? And then this year, you have continuity. They have a lack of familiarity. They don't even know each other. That's why you beat them week 1. Yeah, they're more talented than you on paper, but will it gel together in time for them to take the division from you? The Saints were banking on, we are familiar with each other. This was a compromised offseason. There's no way all of that's going to work to the tune of them taking the division from us. We have a stranglehold on this block right here. And week 1, it looked that way again. But now, as the season has progressed, we're starting to look at it differently. Drew Brees, already on record, basically going to retire at the end of the year. This is how he wants to go out, not only not as a top-end contender, but also losing his division to Tom Brady, who just moved over there. To me, that's just too much, man. You just look at it in totality. If I were Drew Brees, I will be hot at Tom Brady. Because I'm like, damn it, I got everybody else beat in this world except this dude right here. And it's a Justin Gatlin kind of moment. I could outrun everybody walking this planet except one dude. And that one dude takes all the shine. That one dude is married to a supermodel. Nothing wrong with me being married to my college sweetheart, but it ain't the same, okay? This one dude is out there, and he has a scandal, Deflategate. Comes and goes. Me, I have the anthem. Look, I'm just standing by my convictions. And now look at me. Came in a different world, man. If I'm Drew Brees in this situation, I'm trying to get a win any way it comes.
The only, because everything you said, again, I rock with. I don't know that Drew Brees was going to the barbecue in Westlake anyway. You know, he's from Westlake, Texas. I don't know if they got barbecues out there as it is. But the only small place I'm going to push back is very simple. If the Bucs lose to the Saints, now the question is, can they beat the Saints? Again, Tom Brady's never been swept in his division. So if the Bucs lose to the Saints, you beat everybody else. A flukish loss, some would argue, to the Bears. Tom Brady forgot what down it is. That won't happen again. A flukish loss. If you lose to the Saints, now the question is, can you beat them? Think about it. Let's draw a parallel. Lamar Jackson. For the most part, he can beat everybody else. But can he beat the Chiefs? And if he can't beat the Chiefs, he'll never be able to accomplish his ultimate goal. I don't care, Lamar Jackson, that you won an MVP, that you really beat everybody else except the Steelers this past week, that your record has basically no blemishes on it because you can't get past the Chiefs. I will look at the Bucs. I don't care that you can beat the Broncos. I don't care that you can roll past the Giants. I don't care that you can beat all these other teams because you can't beat the Saints. And if you're going to win it all, more than likely you're going to have to beat the Saints. Because, number one, if you're going to win it all, you probably got to win your division. But if not, you're going to have to see them in the playoffs. That, to me, is where the majority of the pressure will lie.
Yeah, well, coaches always say, look, it's going to be hard to nearly impossible to beat a team 3 times in the same year, right?
Yeah, that's real.
So, but you can flip that on his head as well and say, look, if we lose to them again, if we're the Tampa Bay Bucs, guess what? We're still peaking. We're still learning each other. We're still digesting this playbook. They already know what they are. They already have peaked. If they beat us week 1 like they did and they beat us this week, that's okay. Because guess what? They already know who they are. We don't expect much more from them. But there's so much room for growth and opportunity for the Bucs. Even in the loss, the pressure is on the Saints and Drew Brees.